Welcome once again. So today we will be talking about message authentication code or MAC. Our agenda is we will first understand what is authentication, then we will understand what is the need of MAC, then we will discuss about CBC MAC, and finally we will discuss about HMAC or hash MAC. Now what is authentication? Authentication is the measure of originality of the text. Typically, whenever somebody receives some message, authentication means whether it is coming from the intended person or not, and secondly, whether the text has been modified in its transit, that means during transmission whether the text has been modified or not. These are the two important aspects of authentication. Now, in case of digital signature, let us quickly recap what is digital signature. Digital signature is, suppose we have a very long message. We know that digital signature has its limitation, that it cannot sign a very long message. So what we do, we essentially reduce this message to some of its representative message, which is called the message digest or MD or hash output. So we sign this hash output, and whatever signature we generate, so this signature along with this original text we send to the receiver, and receiver in his end or her end, he or she tries to recompute from this signature this hash, and he then computes what is the hash of this message, and he essentially computes these two. So this part we have discussed in detail in our digital signature lecture video, as well as in our hash algorithm lecture video. So these two algorithms together, they can give you the idea of what is digital signature and how it can work in this way. So digital signature along with this hash achieve all the requirements of authentication. So what are the requirements? Requirement is authentication, that means it is coming from the intended person. The integrity, that means the message has not been modified in transit. Non-repudiation, that means whoever is the sender will later not be able to disagree, that means he or she will not be able to say that I didn't send this message. So we can achieve all, but at the cost of certain time. We know that the public key crypto system are fairly slow. So that is the only problem with the digital signature. Otherwise we can achieve message authentication with the digital signatures also. But what will happen if we remove this, or if we compromise this non-repudiation? Non-repudiation means denying. So the sender who is sending the text may later deny that I didn't send this text. So if we allow this repudiation, so in that case we may have a faster algorithm, and there are situations where we can compromise this non-repudiation. For example, if it is the case of my father who is living in a distant city, and I am in a different city. So I am in a distant city and my father is in his home city. Then if my father says to transfer some amount of money to someone's account, just by saying send $1,000 to Joe's account, then the only thing that I need are authentication, that means whether it is coming from my father or somebody is impersonating as my father and is making a fake call to me or not, and the second one is integrity, is the message tampered during the transit or not. That means if instead of 1000, if somebody makes that 10,000 in transit, so that is also the point of concern. So in such cases we really don't need the non-repudiation, because it is coming from my father and I trust my father, so there is no need of repudiation. So if we compromise the repudiation, then we can have a better design of message authentication, and that what we are going to do in case of our MAC design. So what is authentication in true sense is essentially, number one is whether it is coming from the intended person or not, and has it been modified on transit or not, and we really don't need this non-repudiation. For example, a voice call or a video call. If somebody makes a video call and says something that give me some rupees or meet me at some places, so in that case what will happen, if I trust that person, I really don't need to take a copy of that video or that voice call, so that later if he or she denies, then I can show that yes, this is the video call that you have made. So we really don't need such type of mechanism, so that the people who is sending this message can later deny. So we really don't consider those denial of services. Okay, so in that case we can concentrate only upon these two. One is whether it is coming from the intended person or not, whether it is coming from the true person or not, and the second one is whatever has been sent by the person, has it been modified during the transmission of the message or not. So these are the two important concerns. So in that sense, a MAC is a cryptographic model of authentication which takes arbitrary length message, generates a fixed length output as authentication code, and authentication is achieved. That means the receiver will know that it is coming from the intended sender, and receiver will also know that the message has not been changed in its transit. And this one, which is very important, it is very fast in comparison to the digital signature. It is also called key based cryptographic checksum. Essentially, this checksum word comes from the fact that whether that message has been tampered in transit or not. So this checksum word comes from this integrity part, and this key based thing comes from this authentication, or whether it is coming from the intended person or not, from that part. So how can we achieve it? So as we know that all asymmetric key crypto systems are very slow, so definitely this is going to be asymmetric key based authentication. So recall, whenever it is a symmetric key based, this means it is much faster, and the symmetric key means the sender has every possibility to deny. So non-repudiation we cannot really achieve, because whenever somebody is using symmetric key, so that means sender and the receiver will know the same key, and whenever this message has been sent to this receiver, so receiver has the key and the message, and the sender is also having the key and the message. So both of them can do everything, so they are enjoying the same power. So both the receiver and the sender, they may generate the message, and they may generate the message authentication code also. So as both of them having the same key, and in case of symmetric key, that is the setup, that means this non-repudiation is no longer going to work. So only whether it is coming from the authenticated person or not, that is the concern, and the second concern is, whether that has been changed during the transit or not. So the two popular models of message authentication is cipher block chaining or CBC based message authentication, and hash based message authentication, which is called HashMAC. We will discuss both of them. So let us come down to this cipher block chaining or CBC mode. It is based on a symmetric cipher like AES. So AES is a symmetric cipher which is based on Galois field and some other tricky mathematics, but it is a symmetric cipher. We need both the receiver and the sender, they will have the same key. Now how we can achieve this message authentication is coming from this chaining or typically block chaining from this part. For example, I have a very long message and I would like to compute the message authentication code using this CBC. So, how am I supposed to do is that we know that AES allows some block of maybe 128 bit. So, these all of the blocks of the message are having 128 bit, 128 bit in that way. So, whenever I need to authenticate this whole large message, I will take this first x1, I will send it here. Initially, I will take an initial value, I will make an XOR with that, then I will send that one to my AES. The key which is going to be shared both by sender and the receiver, I will do this AES computation, then I will get C1, that is the cipher output of the very first block. Then instead of sending that, I will send that back to my XOR function. In that case, I will take this x2. So, this x2 and this one is they are going to be XOR. So, in that case, we are not going to use this initial value. So, initial value will be used only for x1. Initial value will only be used for x1. So, this is only this one. For x2 and onward, whenever x2 will be fed, the previous cipher output and this x2 will be XOR. So, it is coming from this one. So, whenever I will send here xi, I need C of I minus 1. So, that will give me Ci. So, in that way I will proceed and the output of the last one will be sent to the receiver along with the message. So, this message and the MAC code, that is the final cipher output of the last block, that will be sent. And recall, in this AES case nobody is decrypting. So, what this person or the receiver is going to do, he or she is going to take this same message M and is going to apply the same methodology. That means, he or she is going to take this first block and is going to XOR with this initial value. She knows this key. So, this key will be used for AES computation, and for x2 onward she will use the previous cipher output and will XOR with this one, and that will be sent to AES and AES will compute that, and ultimately she will compute another MAC. If this MAC, which is say for example M1 and this MAC, if these two matches, then in that case we will say that this message and this MAC is coming from the intended person, as well as from this blockchain method we can say that nothing has been changed in transit, otherwise this MAC would have been a different one. So, that is what is cipher blockchaining or CBC. Now, come down to hash based authentication or HMAC. So, how can we use the key with hash? We are not going to use any particular key based hash model. It is very simple, that I can append some key at the beginning of the message. So, that is just the message, and at the very beginning I will have certain key, or maybe the message and I can append key at the very end. So, this adding the key at the very beginning is called secret prefix, and adding the key at the very end, which is append actually, is called secret suffix. So, I can add the key in the beginning of the message, or I can add the key at the end of the message. So, in that case I will either have a secret prefix or a secret suffix, depending upon whether I am adding this thing to the beginning of the message or to the end of the message. So, what will happen in that case? So, my message is now this longer one. So, if I have certain hash computation from here, even if I send this message in the public channel, nobody can determine this hash function because the prefix part, or in this case the suffix part, is not known. So that is why that can also act as a key. So that is the key idea of adding a key with this hash function. So we are not going to design a hash function which is going to accept a key. We are just going to add some secret bits to the beginning of the message or to the end of the message. That is the idea. Now there are problems if we really use secret prefix or add some bits at the beginning. Let us try to understand that, and then we will try to understand what are the problems if we have secret suffix. So an eavesdropper or an attacker can add arbitrary length at the end. How is that possible? Say for example, this is the original sender. So this is the message, and that is the key, and this key is known only by the sender and the receiver. This is the attacker or Eve. This red part is the Eve's part. So what will happen? So whenever this key plus this message, so beginning there will be key, then some message, it will be sent to this hash. What will happen? It will take a block by block. Say for example, one block in this one, then another block, another block, another block. In that way it will compute the hash, and the output of the previous one will be the input to the next one. In that way, block by block hash will be computed, and the final hash, which is coming from this final part of the message, that is the message authentication code. So whenever the sender will send this thing, Eve intermediarily can accept that and can add some extra message at the end. So what will happen? So in that case, this MAC output will be sent, and another block of this extra message will be sent. Then that output will be taken, and the another block of this extra message will be sent. In that way, she can add as many bits as she wishes, and the final MAC output will be sent to the receiver. And what will be the message in that case? The message is this key plus message appended with this extra part. So what will happen? She will not know anything about this secret prefix, but she knows what is the final output up to this. She can add some extra text, just taking this MAC output and this extra text, its block by block, this MAC output or hash output will be computed, and the final hash output will be sent along with this entire large message. That means the secret prefix plus the original message plus Eve's added extra message. So in that way, she can mount an attack which is called which is the problem of secret prefix. So recall that in the receiver end, receiver will not be able to identify that this message has been modified in transit, because now receiver will have a large message, something like this large message, and he knows the key. That means he will add this key at the very beginning and take this message and will try to compute the hash, which is essentially going to match with this MAC that has been sent to the receiver. So instead of sending this MAC, he will send this MAC. So that is something which is called active attack. I am modifying the MAC also. So problem with secret suffix is also there, though problem with secret suffix is not that obvious, and mounting an attack with secret suffix is very hard. So how one can mount an attack with secret suffix? Secret suffix means, recall, now I have a message and the secret key is appended at the end. So that is my key and that is my message. Okay. So this attack can be generated from sender send. So what will happen if somehow senders can get two messages M1 and M2, where the hash output of M1 and hash output of M2, M1 and M2 means this raw message M1 and message M2, without this key part. So key part has not been added, just this message M1 and message M2. So if we somehow can, sorry, it should not be here, message key is added at the end. So if this message M1 and message M2, they are having the same MAC code, then what will happen, M1 and the appended key and M2 and the appended key will also have the same MAC code. Why? Because this message, its final hash output is going to be taken as the input whenever I am computing the hash output of the next block. So in that sense, this and M2, if their MAC output is same, then M1 and then appended with the key and M2 and the appended with the same key, their hash output will be same. So in that case, what sender can do, sender can send this M1 and later he can say, okay, I didn't send this M1, I really sent this M2. So that is going to happen, that may happen. But this sort of attack is very hard to mount, because in that case we need a collision, and we know that in case of good hash function like SHA-1 or some other good hash functions, it is very hard to find out a collision. So now let us discuss the design of hashMAC or HMAC. So the idea of HMAC is a bit tricky because it takes both the prefix and the suffix in some sense. So recall we have a prefix secret which we will call as key k. So here we have used k plus. We will discuss what is k plus, and some initial value is there which is called IPAT. So what we have done, we have made the XOR of that k plus and this IPAT, and that forms this SI that is added at the beginning of the message. So that is called secret prefix, and this entire long message has been divided into blocks. Recall in case of our SHA-1, the block size is 512 bit. So if we use SHA-1 for our MAC design, so we will break this entire message into 512 bit blocks. So what will happen, then each and every block will be fed to this hash function. Obviously for computation of the hash output of the very first block, we will use the initial value, this is IV stands for initial value, and for the subsequent x1 and x2 and xn, whenever we will compute xi, we will take the hash output of the previous blocks, that is hi minus 1. So in that way we will compute the hash output from this hash function for this secret prefix plus this message. And then we will do another thing, that is called, that is something like we will take the same key with this plus, and we will have another padding that is called OPAD. We will XOR them and we will add that at the beginning of the hash output that has been generated from this entire thing, and we will compute the hash function of that. Obviously in that case also we will use some initial value, because whenever we will compute the hash output of the first block, we have to consider this initial value, and then we will compute the hash output of the next bit, and finally we will compute this message authentication code which we will send to the receiver. So in that case we will do this message and HMAC, these two things. So this HMAC means this hash output of the second one. Now come down to this k plus. K plus is the key plus some padding of 0 to the left, so that the result is become b bits, which is the block size. So for example, in case of SHA-1, the block size is 512, and if our k is essentially 128 bits, for example, then we will make some, suppose this is our k, this is 128 bits, we will add certain 0 at the beginning, so that this entire length becomes 512. So that is called k plus. And iPad has a fixed value, that is 00110110110. So that I will repeat. For example, I have made this k up to 512 bits for SHA-1, for example. So I will place this 001101110 32 times, so that this one becomes 512 bit and iPad also becomes 512 bit. iPad is nothing but 001101110. So this is one byte, then 001101110, that is another byte. So in that way I will place this iPad 32 times, so that this iPad will become 512 bits and this k plus will become 512 bits, and they are going to be XORed, and this is going to generate this SI. The same thing is going to happen in case of OPAD. So in case of OPAD, just the bit pattern is different. So it is 0101110, and that we will repeat 32 times to make it 512 bit, and k also will make 512 bit in the same process that has been discussed here. So that is essentially the HashMac or hash based message authentication code, which is free of both secret prefix attack and the secret suffix attack. So as a conclusion, what we can say is that hash and digital signatures are good, and it provides both authentication, non-repudiation and integrity. But MAC is very fast, because MAC uses symmetric key. That means both the sender and the receiver, they will know the key on which this model is working, and MAC provides only this authentication and integrity, and MAC provides no non-repudiation. With this, I would like to conclude. Thanks for watching.